In the sun-scorched expanse of the African savannah, life moves to the rhythm of survival. Predators chase, prey runs, and the dry wind sings stories of the eternal cycle. Among the swiftest of these creatures roams the cheetah, an icon of speed, agility, and power. But even nature's finest hunters are not immune to misfortune. This is a story of Tango, a young male cheetah who found himself not in pursuit of prey, but imprisoned by human negligence. His head stuck inside a large plastic bottle, rendering him unable to eat, drink properly, or even roar. Over 5 desperate days, his survival instincts, memories, and raw endurance would be tested like never before. It began as any other morning for Tango. He awoke under a low-thorn acacia, his lean body warmed by the first rays of sun. Hunger pulled at his belly. The dry season had been harsh, and prey was sparse. He hadn't eaten properly in 3 days. Driven by instinct, he began to prowl through the tall grass, nose twitching for signs of gazelle or hare. But what he found was no prey. It was a strange, glinting object at the edge of a dried-out creek, a plastic water bottle, likely left by tourists or poachers. Curiosity overcame caution. There was a scent, perhaps leftover food or stagnant sugary residue. He pushed his head in, and it got stuck. The bottle was wide enough to fit over his head, but narrow enough to clamp at the neck. He pulled back instinctively. The bottle refused to budge. He pawed at it. Nothing. He twisted, jumped, and slammed his body into the dirt. Still stuck. A hunter turned prisoner in a moment. The second day brought rising panic. Tango wandered aimlessly, vision distorted by the foggy plastic. Hearing muffled, breath coming in short rasps. The bottle trapped the heat, suffocating him slowly. He could smell his own sweat and panic inside that capsule. The thin layer of stale air was hot, humid, oppressive. Worse, he couldn't drink. He'd tried dipping his head in the river, but the water couldn't reach his parched tongue through the sealed trap. His body weakened. Thirst clawed deeper than hunger. His mouth was dry, tongue cracked, throat raw. He tried to groan, but the bottle scraped against his legs and claws. He couldn't see the sky. He couldn't feel the wind. All he heard was the echo of his own breath, magnified inside that translucent coffin. On the 3rd day, Tango's body started failing, but his mind roamed elsewhere. Memories flooded him of his mother, who had taught him how to stalk, to crouch, to burst forth like a bullet through the grass. He remembered chasing impala through the golden dusk. He remembered his first solo kill, a small diker, barely old enough to run. He had dragged it behind a bush, pride swelling in his chest. He remembered the smell of warm blood, the crunch of bones, the fullness after the feast. But that was the past. Now, even walking hurt. He moved slower, legs trembling. Each step was uncertain. The plastic bottle had cut into his neck, and he bled. Insects buzzed around him, feeding on the dried wounds. He saw a herd of zebra in the distance, but didn't even attempt pursuit. The predator inside him was asleep. Only the survivor remained. Day 4 was the worst. Tango collapsed near a fallen log, utterly spent. He hadn't eaten in 5 days. His ribs protruded sharply, and his flanks heaved with shallow breath. The bottle, once a foreign object, now felt like a part of him, a cruel prosthetic that clung with merciless tenacity. His vision blurred. Time bent. He didn't know how long he had lain there. Vultures began circling above, sensing weakness. A hyena trotted nearby and watched, curious. But Tango, even weakened, let out a muted growl. The hyena left, for now. In the haze of near death, Tango hallucinated. He dreamed of the sky opening, rain pouring, and the bottle dissolving like sugar. He drank deeply in his dream and ran through fields where no humans ever walked. But then he awoke, and the bottle was still there. It was near dusk on the 5th day when help arrived. A patrol vehicle from a nearby wildlife reserve had been alerted by a local tracker. They had seen Tango before, known him as part of a monitored population. When they found him, he looked like a ghost of himself. Matted fur, dry eyes, flies buzzing in clouds around him. They approached cautiously. The cheetah tried to run but fell. Even then, fear glimmered in his tired eyes. Using tranquilizer darts and a pole snare, the rangers immobilized him. One ranger, Samuel, gently held the bottle and cut it away with shears. It had to be done carefully. The edges had fused slightly to the wound at Tango's neck. With the bottle finally off, air rushed into Tango's lungs with unfiltered clarity for the first time in days. He was given 4 fluids, antibiotics, and shade. For hours, they watched him, unsure if he'd survive the trauma. But Tango lived. Over the next few weeks, Tango was kept under observation in a rehabilitation center. He was given soft food, his wounds treated, and his vitals monitored. Slowly, he regained weight. His coat grew clean again, but he never quite behaved the same. He was wary of objects, especially those with human scent. He stayed closer to shaded trees, preferred solitude, and ran less often. Some said he had aged years in those 5 days. Wildlife researchers documented his case, spreading awareness about the dangers of plastic waste. Photographs of Tango's ordeal made headlines. Donations surged for cleanup operations. His story became a symbol, not just of environmental carelessness, but of resilience. Tango's ordeal was not unique. All over the globe, wild animals encountered discarded plastic, often with lethal consequences. From sea turtles with straws in their nostrils to birds feeding plastic to chicks, the crisis is severe. Plastic bottles, particularly, are notorious. Once inside an animal's mouth, they often lodge firmly due to their shape. Unlike urban animals, wild predators do not have handlers or watchers. Many die unseen. Tango was lucky. He had proximity to conservationists, and people cared enough to intervene. But countless others are not so fortunate. His suffering sparked community drives to remove trash from tourist zones, educate locals and visitors, and push for biodegradable packaging alternatives. After 3 months, Tango was released back into the wild. He sprinted again, not as fast as before, but with purpose. He reestablished a territory on the edge of the lowland forest and was occasionally spotted trailing a gazelle herd, his instincts reborn. Though changed, he had not been broken. Rangers who tracked him noted that he avoided human areas completely. He no longer took interest in foreign objects. Perhaps he remembered the glass prison. Perhaps in his mind, the bottle still floated like a ghost in his dreams. But he lived, and that was enough. The story of Tango, the cheetah who did not eat for 5 days, is not just a tale of survival. It is a reflection of our shared world, where one species' carelessness can shatter another's life. It is a story of warning, of endurance, of transformation, a reminder that nature is not a separate realm but part of our own reflection. And if a creature as fierce, proud, and wild as a cheetah can suffer in silence due to a single human bottle, then perhaps we must listen more closely to the cries of the wilderness before more voices go unheard.